we are going to hear from some young ladies who are sitting right here, but they were sitting where you were only a short 3 or 4 years ago. We've asked these ladies to come here today to talk to you because each of them represents a different pathway, a varied pathway in life after finishing school. And as you leave school, you'll be carving out your own pathway, but it's really good to get some inspiration and a bit of an idea as to who's gone before you and how they've done it. And that's essentially what the OGA is all about, really supporting, inspiring and celebrating other young women as we go on. So you've all been asked to bring your phones today, I know, and that's because today you are going to become an all-girl. So you're going to sign up to the OGA. After the panel discussion, we're going to show you how to log in and register your membership. But in the meantime, just put them aside and out of sight and out of mind while I introduce you to our panellists. So we have McMillan, who is an Associate Business at Restructuring Services at PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have Cameron Scurrah, who is an actor, trainer and currently studying economics and drama at uni. We have Anna Liang, who's a 4th year Bachelor of Advanced Science at UQ, doing her honours thesis in astroparticle physics. And Elsie Pritchett, who's in agribusiness banking at NAB. So please welcome them for me. Ladies, I'm going to open with a few questions, but then I'll really hand over to the Year 12 ladies to grill our panel on the questions that you're dying to know about what the next 3 to 4 years of your life might look like. I guess starting from the top there with you, Alice, each of you have had really different journeys since you finished school, which I really love because it shows that there isn't just one linear version of being successful and finding happiness and fulfillment in life. So you really have written your own stories in many ways. Starting with you, Alice, can you please give me an idea on what the overview has been since you left school and what you've been up to? Yes.
So after school, I moved to Sydney. And I went to Sydney University for 3 years. I studied a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in Accounting and Information Systems. And then once I graduated from there last year, I've moved back to Brisbane for this job. I'm nervous. Do I answer the same question? Okay. 3 weeks after graduating from Somerville, I flew to Los Angeles to attend the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which is an acting college, specialised training for 2 years, where I every day attended about six to 8 hours of crying classes, and then I decided to do the 3rd year, which was an optional audition-based year where you just do shows. Then I came back here, obviously, because of situations.
So since I've graduated school, I've been a bit of a nosy body in science. So I'm studying a Bachelor of Advanced Science and majoring in physics, and I also did a math minor. And now I'm doing my honours thesis in astroparticle physics. So I'm looking at stuff in space and what it is on the tiniest levels. And I also do a bit of teaching. I teach 2nd and 3rd year shoots at uni as well.
Can't really compete with that, but I just...
It's not a competition.
So I did a Bachelor of Agribusiness out at Gatton. So it was 1st year out at St Lucia doing business subjects, and then I did 2 years out at Gatton on the college out there, which was pretty fun. And I just moved up to Bundaberg for my job. So they were like, move to Bundaberg. I was like, okay.
So maybe coming back down in that direction, and it's a typical question to ask, but I've got to ask it. If you could go and sit back down in the seat right now and be at this point in Year 12 all over again, what would you tell yourself, or what bit of advice, or what would you do differently?
Probably just go literally where your heart wants to go. Do what you want, and if it changes, it changes. Like all my friends, they probably did 1 year of one degree, then they changed. It's really
no big issue if you change. If you decide you don't want to do it, you can just change your mind, but not a big issue.
That would have been mine, Elsie. But I think also, especially now that you're at term 3 at the end of or heading into exams, is to really look after yourself. Like, look after your health. Remember, I was always tired and probably just didn't eat well and sleep well enough. So just remember that, because it's never worth burning out at the end of the day.
I would say the doubt of yourself is only going to hinder you, and you aren't knowing your capabilities isn't being overly confident. You aren't going to get less far in life if you aren't confident in your own abilities. And knowing that, if I had known that, I might have made more progress than where I was and where I got to. So.
My advice would be look after your friends. Your friends stick by you once you've left school, and you can choose a degree and change that as much as you want. But since moving back to Brisbane from Sydney, my Somerville friends have really supported the transition back. So yeah, while you're in grade 12, just look after your friends as much as yourself.
Alice, looking back, did you choose the right pathway, or did you ever have a crisis of faith at any point, or a crisis of confidence maybe at any point, which is very normal for women, I think, especially to have those moments where we overtalk or talk to ourselves a bit too much?
I kind of feel like I'm doing that now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at my job for about 6 months and I love it, but I'm always just how did I get here? And I think the subjects that I chose in grade 11 and 12 really drove me to this career, and picking those subjects from such a young age, I'm just how did I get here?
Yeah, it's that imposter syndrome, and that was going to be my next question for you. Scoring that kind of job, was it straight out of university?
Yeah, so I applied for an internship at the end of my first year in Brisbane at PwC, and then I did that at the end of my second year, and then they offered me a grad job after that. So it kind of fell into place.
Mm-hmm. And would you recommend then internships to ladies when they're looking at finishing up their degree and seeking those out actively?
Yeah, I definitely think looking for work in your degree early on is really helpful. I just did a part-time job at an accounting firm early on, and then I really liked it. But yeah, the internship early on really set me up for post-uni. So, yeah.
Did you have to go to interviews even though you were already known to the company? Is there some, little tips and tricks that you can give the ladies in 3 or 4 years' time when they're looking at going for an interview in a top-tier firm like that?
Yeah, so I did the interview process in the assessment centre in my first year. So I was quite young when I applied. Luckily, I didn't have to do that again. The position was given to me subsequently from the internship. But I think in interviews, they get so many applicants. And I think, you've always heard this, but be yourself. I know I always get nervous when I'm speaking in an interview and stuff, but try find an element of yourself that could differentiate yourself from others.
Okay, thank you. Cameron, you ended up with a scholarship. How did you get that? How did it happen? What was the process involved?
It's not a fancy story. I wasn't picked out of a crowd. You're talented. I actually, the US dollar isn't great. And I had recognized that it was a bit tough to maintain staying on campus and the school fees. And so it goes back to recognizing your worth. I looked at the marks and the feedback that all of my mentors and directors had told me, and I wrote an essay to the school and I said, look, I know that you have a lot of scholarships, but I wrote an entire thing saying, based on my grades, based on my feedback, totally your choice still, but this would be very helpful for me and my family considering the exchange rate and other factors. And so I ended up getting $10,000 USD from that essay based on merit. So, yeah.
So you headed off to LA only 3 weeks after finishing. What did you feel anxious? Was there hesitation in that? And how did you maintain your mental and emotional well-being at that time?
I think being an actor, you sign yourself up to feel emotions all the time. You sign yourself up to just cry and, you know, expose yourself to that vulnerability. So I'd already known that it was my path. So the anxiety that came with moving far away was lessened because I was like, I'm doing what I know I need to do as my purpose as a human being on this planet.
Fantastic. You've had to be very flexible in the face of COVID and things maybe not going to plan. Has there been some silver linings to come out of this change in plans for you?
Yeah, there has. Other than getting my dream job in an ice cream shop here, I was looking for ways to use my acting abilities and my degree, and I was like, well, there's no one casting anything while I get auditions and I make little movies at home. I wanted to do something more creative, so with Acting Method, I started a private tutoring business where I teach young women confidence based on Acting Method. So I do private sessions and where I use my acting knowledge and things like that, things that make me come out of my shell, because I'm a firm believer that acting is useful in more than just crying on camera. So yeah, I do private sessions with young women and use Acting Method to teach them confidence and goal setting.
So if there's anyone out here looking to break into acting, Cameron's your woman for a bit of training. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I'll go with Anna first so you don't have to sterilise everything. Have there been any curveballs or unexpected challenges since you finished school? Because I think on the surface it looks like you've had a very linear path and everything's probably fallen into place for you, and someone could be quite mistaken in thinking that that was the case.
I think there's definitely been setbacks. I've always thought that, you know, as you said, like, it seems like my plan's been very linear, and I've always had an idea of what exactly I was going to do. You know, every year at uni I had all my courses planned from first year. I knew I'd, you know, would get into teaching. I'd go and take up research in my summers, but then sometimes when you're too fixed in your plan, you lose track of like other opportunities and like other things you could be doing that could actually help you instead. So I think this was the biggest challenge, has been to switch from doing a 12-month honours thesis to doing it 18 months. So I was expected to graduate at the end of this year, but it just kind of got too much, and then I realised that I have to take the extra time. I can't keep pushing myself to these to these limits all the time. So that's definitely been a bit of a setback, but also just wondering whether, you know, I should still be doing this degree, because not going to lie, my parents weren't exactly keen on me doing business. It's very unknown, and sometimes it's difficult to embrace a path for, you know, your children if you haven't seen it before, seen people do it before, and so just trying to grapple with that and like the doubt of, you know, should I still be doing this? Is this, you know, where is this going to lead me? But I think at the end of the day, you really do have to do what you're passionate about and just work towards that instead of worrying about everything else.
It is untrodden territory, but it's also territory that is trodden by men more frequently than women, unfortunately, being a STEM industry. Is the science world becoming more gender balanced, and have you faced any challenges in this respect in your travels so far?
Definitely. You see the cohort of girls going year by year. It's still very male-dominated. I'm often the only girl in my classes, and I think there's only 3 girls doing their thesis of like 30 in my cohort, like in the advanced science cohort for physics. But I think like everyone's been so supportive though. At uni, you almost don't feel that there's that gender imbalance because you are treated as an equal. But having said that, it's really important to recognise when, for example, there might be casual sexism when, you're, like, I think in first year, it was a bit more difficult to ask questions because maybe that was just me being a bit more timid, but you'd often be like spoken over, and so it's really important to stand your ground and know that you can be heard and that you have just as much of a right as anyone else. But also to not go the extreme and to assume like you should be on an equal playing field.
I think that's something that everyone on this stage can identify with very strongly once you get out there. You also love art, so yes. I was wondering how important have hobbies been for you in maintaining, once again, mental and emotional well-being in a very, very busy life?
Oh, so important, because it's a way of being able to relax, but also to, regain momentum and to, go even further. Like if you're always doing the same thing all the time, you might not be able, you might not get new ideas as easily. So when you step away from that, it's having that creative outlet definitely helps. But also for me, art is a way of communicating science, because if no one knows what you're doing, or if you can't explain what you're doing, then it doesn't do anyone any good, does it? So I like to use my art as a tool of science communication and to teach people about space and what's out there.
Elsie, what attracted you in particular to agribusiness?
So I chose agribusiness because I liked the business side stuff, but I didn't want to spend the next 4 years doing 9 to 5, sitting in an office. That was all I was going to do. So I was friends with a lot of the boarders. My uncle had a property out near Longreach, and I was like, if I could turn this into a pathway and combine two things that I love, then that would be the ideal decision, and that's what led me to agribusiness.
And you moved for work as well, which can be really challenging if you're not expecting that, or you don't know that it's a natural part of that sequence of your career. What advice would you give to ladies who, I suppose, are entering industries where they have to get their head around the idea of moving away from their entire support structure, their friends and their family and everything that they really hold on to in their lives right now?
I think moving away, you stay in contact with the people who really mean the most to you. Like, I have one friend who's done 4 years up north, and I've called her once in the last three times in the last 12 months, just because she's busy, I'm busy. But I know as soon as I see her, it'll be exactly the same. We'll still be best friends, we'll still all that. But even though we're so far apart, we can still be so close and just have so much to do with each other's lives. Which is who matters when you move. You know who cares about you and who you care about. It becomes very clear.
And in the NAB team, are there other people in the area? Like, have you been able to develop a social life or a little bit of a local network as well when you did move?
It's been really hard because I moved the first week and then Corona hit. So it's like, okay, now just when you should be getting out and meeting everyone, it's like, okay, everything's shut down. You can't get out, you can't do anything. Like, I'm the youngest in my office, and when everyone's talking about childcare, I'm like, do you just want to go to the pub? It's hard to find that balance of I'm young, trying to make myself known, but I can't really, there's not much in contact. I was very lucky that I got to move with a co-worker who is in the same position as I am, and we're both kind of in the deep end, just swimming, but it's been very tough, and especially like peak Corona when I can't get home, we can't travel anywhere, and it's just me and him stuck at home working. It's been a bit rough, but we got through it, and it's just, yeah.
So step me through the recruitment process that you underwent. You finished uni, and did you look at other banks, or did you look at NAB because they've got such a big stronghold in agribusiness in particular?
I did. I went through a lot of interviews, so I did about 4 interviews, and I got to the top 3 for another job. I got top 10 for another one, and each time it was, no, sorry, there's someone better. And then with NAB, I actually got the job halfway through my final year, and they were like, if you can start now, you can have it. And then, because it just didn't work, trying to do your final, most important semester of uni, trying to balance a full-time job, just wouldn't have worked. But I did choose NAB because it has such a big agribusiness perspective. Like, everyone knows NAB, everyone knows how big they are, so it's been a really good starting point. And the recruitment process was similar to Alice's. You do the assessment, kind of testing, and then you do a formal interview, and then you probably do a phone interview, formal interview, and then they tell you get the job. So.
You deal with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis that are struggling with hardship and really extraordinary circumstances, especially in 2020. Learning how to manage that stress, it's not something that you really can do a degree in, and you certainly can't really get taught that at school. There's no subject at school that you take that teaches you how to deal with very early on in your career really stressful and confronting situations. It really comes with life experience, and I was wondering if there's any experiences that have made you a better employee, but also a better manager for your particular clients that's happened since school.
So I did 2 years working at McDonald's, kind of starting the bottom of and you do get chucked in the deep end when you got to do everything's fast paced. Like you don't go into Macca's and go, oh, this place is really slow. Like everything's fast. Like you got to do this, while also balancing that while taking orders. Like that has really helped me. So I recommend any part-time work you can get. You stand out compared to other people, and it really does help. Like learning those people skills and learning how to deal with angry customers and then happy customers really does set you up, because then immediately when I went into this role and it was customer interaction over the phone and email, it really does help because you can read the situation better and go, how can I deal with this? How is this going to be the best outcome for the customer?
What subjects did you study at school?
I did accounting, BCT, geography, legal studies, and because I really liked the commerce side and it showed, and geography was fun. So.
And did you find that helped you at uni just with a little bit of confidence with a base level knowledge?
Because in first year I did simply the subjects, which is straight business, so intro to accounting, intro to business management, and definitely having even just a basic knowledge of what a profit and loss sheet is kind of put me ahead of someone who had done all science and decided to do business degree. So it does help. And if you like doing that, then just follow your path.
Thank you. I guess, ladies, I'd like to know the same thing for all of you. What subjects you did at school and which particular ones you felt were bits of pearls of wisdom, or even just particular teachers that gave you bits of wisdom that helped you then with your degree.
So I did Math B, Math C, Chemistry, Physics, English and Legal. It's if you enjoy it, everyone says the subjects are hard, but if you really enjoy it, then it, really keeps you going through it. Yes. I would have found any other subject combination very difficult. But I think definitely, amazingly, legal actually was, I know it sounds really far from what I'm doing, but a lot of science is writing, and English as well, but I didn't, in legal I wrote essays, and that actually helped me a lot. But also physics and chem I really enjoyed. Amazingly, I didn't actually know I was going into physics until 3 weeks before QTech applications were due. I didn't think you could make a career out of it. I just knew I really enjoyed it. I loved math, but then, the world of academia was really far away, and I didn't know anyone in it. But then I found that there was a degree that specialised in research, and I thought, hey, maybe I can actually do these subjects that I really enjoy at uni, and that's what happened. But in terms of teachers who really inspired me, I think Miss Glennon, I'm not sure she's still here, but she really encouraged me, because she knew that, she knew I was, facing a lot of pressures from, my family and what I was going to do, but she really encouraged me to just stick by it, and she found opportunities of, what you can do with physics. And she sent them over to me. It was hey, you can actually get a job in it. You can do what you enjoy, and that was really encouraging.
I did drama, obviously. I did biology, economics, business, maths A, and English. I honestly found every single subject useful, and part of me wish I paid attention a little bit more, because honestly, acting, every single subject that I did helped me. I got the incredible opportunity to play Anne Frank, and I really wish I had done history, because it takes a lot of work to research all of that sort of jazz, and just I got to play all of these roles where all of my subjects were wildly relevant. Like I could use all of my, I have such a passion and love for economics for no reason other than the fact that I like it. But I just, and it's crazy what you can use in your art, like from other parts of your life. And so, yeah, that's my piece.
I did maths, B and C, English, accounting, economics, and drama. I found I started doing economics at uni, and then I moved into commerce, but I found those economic and accounting subjects very helpful. Not so much the maths, but I really loved maths at school, and I was really looking for some maths. So then I moved to a finance major just to fill in that gap. But yeah, drama as well I thought was really helpful just in like public speaking scenarios, and I think even though my job is like quite like rigid accounting, I think drama was like my creative side, and I really try to put that into my job as much as possible. Do like team bonding and everything like that, which is a good way to make your team stronger. But yeah.
Lovely, thank you. I think we'll turn it over to the audience. There's an issue with the fact that obviously we can't pass this microphone around because it will be drenched by the end of the session. So ladies, if I can ask you to use your biggest possible voices just so we can actually hear you at the front. Does anyone have a starting question for the ladies? Is anyone considering any of these particular career paths or even just these industries? No. What are you doing? Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question for Anna. Yeah. You said that your parents tried to put pressure on you. Do you mind answering what that was for, what they want you to do, and how did you do it?
Yeah, so, well, I think I have a sister who's a lawyer and another sister who went and studied accounting. And so to say that you want to do physics or to go into research or like a degree that doesn't have a job attached to it, like it was just a little bit scary for them. But I think in the end, like we just talked it through, and I've made the most of my degree, and I've shown that I'm really enjoying this, and I really do want to pursue this, and I've tried to make it work. Like I've taken other opportunities outside of like my degree, like doing research over my summers, and then also like with teaching as well, and just shown that I'm really committed to this. And then I think my parents came around and saw that really was something that I find really fulfilling. And it took a few few hours and tears and just a lot of communication.
That's a good question. Anyone else?
I have a question for Anna. You said you studied space. Is that scary?
Yes, no, space is amazingly scary. Like, I was telling the girls before, like, well, the story of what happens when you head into a black hole, and the fact that you just get spaghettified and like your body gets blown apart. So space is very scary. You wouldn't survive up there on your own. But the thing is, it's so beautiful. There's so many mysteries. I'm not really specifically looking at space. Like I'm doing astronomy. So there's two. So we know what ordinary matter is. The stuff that makes up this table, this glass, the air. But then there's other stuff like dark energy and dark matter, things that we know exist because the fact that our galaxy hasn't been ripped apart yet. And also the fact that there's a lot of energy out there that we don't know about, and I'm trying to figure out what those things are, but more specifically, I'm trying to figure them out on a particle level, see if there are any new particles that exist that we might be able to explain with those. So it's more like, I'd say I'm doing like particle physics with some space application, but there's plenty of really cool people out there who are actually studying space though. But yes, it still does scare me.
I have a general question. I was wondering if your score at the end of the probability to find your path
No. Thinking back, like, it got me into my degree, but I haven't thought about it since. Like, as soon as I got into degree, it's like, no one brings up OP, so obviously yours is different to what we had, but I don't think anyone's brought up my OP at all. Like, it gets you into degree, but you don't need that. Don't let that define you. Like, the amount of girls that then swap. So they didn't get their OP they wanted in grade 12, so they just spend the first year working hard and then getting into it. Like, it's so easy to swap a degree if you don't like it or if you didn't get into what you did. Like, all the girls out of Gatton, they're trying to get into vet. So they spend the first year doing different degree and then they get into vet, all of them second year.
Yeah, that's really very fast.
Yeah, same with me. I missed out on my degree by 0.1 of a mark, which I was like gutted about, but it really didn't make any difference. Like, I still graduated on time, and even if it slowed me down by a year, everything happens for a reason. And I mean, uni life is great, so if you can extend it, that's also a plus.
How did you do that then? Can you explain to the ladies how you finished on time, despite that hiccup at the beginning?
Yeah, so I wanted to get into commerce, but I started with economics, which was like 5 ATAR points below. So I went to Sydney Uni, which is on the same like scale as what you guys will receive. But I just went on to the website and looked at the subjects that I needed to complete for my commerce degree, and then tried to align them with my economics degree. And then in my first semester, I chose like equivalent subjects, and then you can apply for credit. And then transfer those across. And even if you can only get 1 or 2, that's better than nothing, and then just wasting a semester. But yeah, there's lots of like electives and things that you can choose from lots of different degrees. So sometimes it's hard to find which ones to do, but if you like ask people, they're happy to help as well.
No is the answer. I auditioned when I was 16, first term of year 12, and I got in. And for the rest of the year, I would not be quiet about it. I was like, I could fail school if I wanted to, and I would still be going to LA. Don't condone it. I don't know where I got a work ethic though. For some reason, the rest of the year, I was like, I'm going to get straight A's despite, I didn't. I'm going to get straight A's despite like already having a school to go to. I already had a plan. And I ended up getting exactly what I told my parents I would get. And it was uplifting because I proved something to myself, because if you had known me before year 12, I did not have a work ethic, and I didn't do homework. I don't know where the work ethic came from, but I just decided I need to be better. So.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you recommend like applying interstate or somewhere else?
Yeah, so I applied for UQ and Sydney Uni, and I definitely recommend it. Like, the more you apply for, the more options you have after your 3-month break off. I don't know where I got the idea to apply for Sydney Uni, but I applied in August. So, yeah, and then I was talking to the careers counsellor here about it, and she helped me choose my degree and everything. But I think for UAC, I think is the New South Wales one, you have to get a number through the school, so you need the school's assistance with that. But yeah, I loved going to Sydney. It was really fun, and if you don't like it, you can always move back, and everything's the same once you move back. So yeah, I loved it and highly recommend it to anyone.
Any other questions or any other feedback on that, girls? Yeah.
Do you think the uni you went to matters to employers? Like, if there's 2 degrees, if one matters over the other?
This might be contentious.
Well, it depends on fields, but in science, I really don't think it matters. Like, it matters for what you want to do. So if you went to a uni that, say, didn't offer the area of honours that you wanted to do, but then you wanted to actually start. So in academia, so what you do is you do your undergrad, your honours or your masters, and then your PhD. So if you're wanting to do a PhD in a certain area, but you haven't done any research or any honours in it because your uni didn't offer it, then that might hinder you a bit. But then in terms of just like, say whether you went to UQ or QUT or, any other interstate uni, I really don't think it plays as much of an effect. It's really the work you do and, the research you might produce or the grades you might get that actually, and also the other experiences you have, like whether you have a part-time job or do an internship or do like a summer research program. Those are the things that people look for, in my field at least.
So obviously I did not have a traditional education. I think if you're looking to get into the arts, no, you don't need an education, especially being an actor, you don't need an education. However, I went to okay, you need an education. You still need an education, stay in school. But you don't need I did specialised training. You don't necessarily need that. However, on my resume, when I hand it to someone and they see that I went to the same school as Paul Rudd and Jessica Chastain, they are very impressed. My school, it's specialised training. I wasn't trying to flex, by the way. I was just giving an example. It's that sort of, for me, when you have a trained actor or someone that is trained in this sort of field, when you see that on their resume, it's instantly, oh, I can trust that person's work ethic. Because not only did they get into the school, but the roles that I had the opportunity to play at that school and after that school demonstrate what I'm capable of and that they can trust me. So.
Elsie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess it just follows on your field. So it just, if that uni has your field of passion, then go for it. Like my degree was only at Gatton, Armidale, and then that was it. I was like, those are my two options, or I go into state. And I don't think I was ready to move away from home quite yet, so I had 1 year, and then I moved. But then, like UQ, QUT, I don't think much difference. I think you all come out with a degree, you all come out with knowledge and experience. I think that's all that matters in the work field.
I forgot. But in terms of I think connections is also really important. So like in research, you might want to do your honours in one area and then move to another uni to do work in another group. And if you're able to, if your supervisors from your current uni are able to help you, if they know the group, that's also really important as well. So remember to, form good connections when you're at uni.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's really, it all comes down to that. And a bit of what you know. Probably does help.
Any other questions, ladies? Yeah.
Do you guys have any tips for the transition from finishing year 12 going into university?
It's very different. Like, you've got to self-motivate. There's a lecture at 8 to 12 on a Wednesday after you may or may not have been out the night before. It's your decision to go to that, and then if you don't, then you have to make that up. There's no one forcing you going, hey, you got to do some work. If you don't do the work, then you fall behind, then you keep on falling behind. So that's the biggest transition. I think the biggest transition I found was from uni back to work. Like going from that kind of flexible, you got a class 12 to 4, the next one's 2 days later, and then going from 8 to 5 days a week back to school I found a bit difficult. But it is. And then you make a lot of friends from uni, just from school to uni as well, which helps. Because you're all in the same boat, you're all doing the same thing, you help each other.
I also found that at school your teacher knows who you are. So if you have a question, you can just ask it in class, and it's really quite easy to get help. But in my degree, there was 5,000 people. So there was probably a few hundred in the lecture, so it was pretty nerve-wracking to ask a question, so I never did. But I'd send an email, but it was just too hard to ask questions compared to school. So I think the main transition was feeling like all the teachers know who you are to like not knowing who your teachers are at all, or they not knowing who you are. But I guess to stay on top of that is just to like know what you need to do to pass or do quite well. And yeah, if you do have a question, just email.
There's another question at the back there.
I was just wondering whether you would suggest you go to, like if you don't get the ATAR for your uni that you want to go to, whether you should go to the one with like the lower ATAR, or which is not necessarily worse, but or you should try to like transfer from one course to your course at the uni that you prefer.
I would suggest, well, in my opinion, go to the uni that you wanted to go to, because I found it quite easy to transition, and even people with a lot lower scores to the degree they wanted to transition into, after about a semester, and if you do well in your semester, they want to keep the talent in the university, so it's quite easy to transition. Yeah, I think, and also you can do subjects that will give you credit. It's a lot harder to do, say you went to QUT and you did a few business subjects, they might not align to, say, Sydney Uni or UQ or any other uni. So it's a lot easier to transition once you're in that university.
Question? Yeah.
When you get to that point, how do you go about finding student accommodation and like paying for bills and rent?
So I live, I mean, I'm probably not the person that you're interested in talking to, but I'll still answer the question. It's fine, guys, it's fine, I'm fine. It's fine. Okay, so for me, I lived on campus, right? And I, being 17 and small, I was just I was terrified, right? But I had to move off campus for third year because they didn't allow the third years to live on campus, and so it was a very different experience because I wasn't allowed to legally work because I was there on a student visa. So I could only work on campus, and I had to live in an apartment that was not, it was in a safe area, but common misconception about Hollywood is that the Hollywood Walk of Fame is very sketchy, and I lived right on it, and it was being able to, I could walk to school, but it was, I wouldn't, I would recommend finding somewhere and living with people that you trust, ultimately, because I've seen so many people live with people and make decisions on a whim, and I feel like that it takes a lot of planning if you want to be able to organise where you're going to live and who you're going to live with. And also, don't live with your best friend. Might seem like a weird thing, but live with someone that you can be friendly with, but if you don't want to, if this is someone that's like a really big relationship to you, like, don't live with them, because there are things that, like rent being paid, or in my situation, a mirror fell off the wall, and we had to pay a lot of money, and that caused a lot of fights, and so it tarnished our friendship a little bit. So I would say don't live with your best friend if you're living anywhere.
I think I was pretty lucky because my parents paid for college for me, so I lived at home the first year, which obviously you don't have many bills, you just kind of just live in. And then the second year was a bit rough because I was out at college at Gatton, and my parents were, budgeted $25 a week. Like, food was paid for, everything, but that was my $25, and I lived on that for 6 months till I got a job and had started paying for my own bills. So you learn to work with what you got. You go, I got this much money. You don't have many bills as a uni student, when sometimes you do, it depends what you do your free time, but it's just what you make of it. So if you know you have X amount of dollars, then you literally, you learn to survive with what you got, like, literally.
Also, like, on-campus living is quite expensive. I was lucky because my parents assisted me with that. But I know a lot of people at my college, they got a job and paid for it themselves, which is really impressive to pay the bill weekly with a casual job. But yeah, if you're really passionate about like going into state and you're not getting that support from your family, you definitely can make it work if you've got a bit of savings, like work over the summer and then find a high-paying job or just a good job that will support you.
Yeah, and scholarships, like they're willing, there's assisted living scholarships, like if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Also interstate. I think there's a few scholarships because you're like X amount of hours away from home. I think they're more likely to give you a scholarship because you're coming interstate as well.
Questions? Any other queries? No? Just one other question, ladies. Do any of you have mentors, or do you utilise mentors either formally or informally? And how did you find them? How did you get them?
I don't have a formal mentor. I've read that book, Lean In. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really good book about mentors and how it's really good to have like a sponsor that like helps you out throughout your career. But I'm definitely looking for one. But yeah, even my team leader at work, he really supports me, and if I have any questions, he's fantastic. So I guess that's like an informal mentor.
For those of you that know the show Cagney and Lacey, I don't know if any of you do, maybe some people in this room might. The most impactful show that I was ever in, I played a girl called Libby, funnily enough. I didn't have a tooth for the show, just side note. This is a real tooth, I painted it black. For that show I was directed by the man who, the man that played, I don't remember which character he played one of Cagney and Lacey, I don't know. But his wife, Betty Carlin, who was my director for that show, is my mentor, because the reason I mentioned the show is because it was a very emotionally impactful show where I had to do a 10-minute monologue about falling off a roof. And for 7 weeks I would perform that monologue in front of her. And it was interesting because she, by that monologue and by my own emotions, could read me more than I knew myself.
So when you're in research, you work directly with supervisors who are the ones who they're the ones who get like the funding and they give you your project in a way. But it's also really important to have other people you can go to. So that's often for me other postdocs who are, they're in early researchers, so those who've just done their PhD, this is like their first job. Or even PhD students to turn to. Sometimes, it's good to hear from them to help you to decide what you might want to do next, also to help you on your way to finding a PhD program somewhere. But I think another really good way of meeting these mentors is to go to team meetings. Like in physics, all the different areas have weekly meetings, and even though you might not be directly involved in their research, it's good to go along, because then you might also be able to find someone who can mentor you or to help guide you.
I didn't have a mentor per se, but just kind of a support network. So especially at work, when I don't know something, I know I can reach out to this person and go, how do I do this? And then if that person doesn't know, then I go to someone else. And just a message here and then, just to kind of keep them in contact and just keep a support network. If you don't know something, reach out. There's always people willing to help you, no matter how silly it sounds. Like, I could be like, what does this mean? And they'll be like, yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, literally there's just a support network. So they're out here, especially at school. Everyone's here to support you, achieve your dreams. Just let them help you. They want you to succeed. So let them.
The old girls also offer mentoring as well, so if you've got any little niche area that you want to get into or just broad interests in a particular area, girls, you can always get in touch with us and we will endeavour to pair you up with someone who is already established in that area, and they can walk you through your study years at university, but then also helping you prepare for those important interviews that we've heard about today, all the way through to then leapfrogging through your industry to the tier or the level in your industry that you want to be at. So always keep that in mind. It's just an email, basically, and we can make that happen for you. Ladies, it's been a privilege to hear you guys talk today. We're so proud and so happy for you in all your different areas and the pathways that you've found your happiness and your fulfilment so far. So thank you very, very much for coming along. And yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for being so kind.
Sorry, Kate. If anyone had a question, if you guys have any questions about going to say, I'm happy to answer it. If you wanted to send me a Facebook message or an Instagram message, I will definitely get back to you. So feel free.
We're going to tag the ladies on the OGA Facebook page. That was something I was going to say. If you guys can all today just join the OGA Facebook page, and then you'll have the tags for each of the ladies and all the details on how to get a hold of them if now or down the track you want to. Sorry, Kat.
I just wanted to say on behalf of all Year 12, thank you so much for coming here today. Your responses were really thoughtful and insightful, and everyone really